good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to the pitching session of our Irish friends and projects and many other ecosystem stakeholders, let's put it this way, to fit in the market language. Thank you all for joining us. This is the first time officially at NewImages that we have sizable. I mean, I was surprised because, you know, I've seen projects going there, but I wasn't really aware that the presence is pretty huge. And given the country size, if I may. And I hope most of you have the chance to have nice discussion with them. And now is the right time and the moment to deep into these projects and these shareholders when what's going on in the XR ecosystem in Ireland. Voilà. So I'll give the floor to the moderator.
Díagwich Carja agus fáilte Ruth. Hello friends and welcome to our panel on the immersive ecosystem on the island of Ireland, the Republic of Ireland and Northern Ireland. The focus of our panel today is to give you some insights into the XR ecosystem, an immersive ecosystem that is currently taking shape in Ireland. We have a really interesting panel, I hope, for you today. I'm your moderator. My name is Denise McDonagh. I'm a creative producer and director with an organisation called CultureWorks, and we're based in the west of Ireland, in Galway. We produce work with artists across the island of Ireland and also internationally and in Europe. And we do a lot of strategic development and advisory work across the arts and creative sector. I just want to highlight two projects particular projects that we do this through. It's Cybernate, a residency program that we run with French partners. It's between Ireland and France, with our partners PolPixel and Hacknam Network. We have a few people here that have taken part in it or have been a producer. And the other project that I want to highlight is Immersion by Jainta Studios, who is one of the supporters of this panel. The project is to support engagement with climate change, environmental degradation and biodiversity loss in an informed way, and support the development of the fellows projects in creating cutting edge immersive experiences. There's 8 fellows taking part in the project. Dave beside me is one of them. I'm just going to play a quick video. Gabriel Malarkey from Jainta Studios is here in the audience if anyone wants to talk to him. So it's the first video there, Immersion, please, if someone could play it.
Can I introduce Tanya Minogue?
What do we need to know about the state's climate action plan?
One of the things we've learned from Creative Climate Action is really what we're building here is a community of practice. So there are 3 projects where we're bringing together creatives and communities north and south of the border, and this is one of them. The other thing that makes Immersion special is this focus on the creative industries, not just the film and the sound industry, but augmented and virtual reality. You know, what can these technologies and the capacities of people who can tell stories in virtual and augmented reality, how can we connect the talents of these creatives with the challenge that we face of climate action? So we're really excited about bringing these 10 fellows together with our other 41 projects to make connections and to build what will be essentially a new community of artists, ecologists and community leaders together. So of course it's about their creative practice, but really the big hairy challenge we face is how do we motivate Irish people to feel hope and optimism, to feel that they can do things in their own lives around the climate and nature crisis.
Just said these are kind of 2 projects that to show the kind of mechanisms that we've been able to support immersive work or the creation of immersive work in Ireland. So I'm just going to introduce you to the panel, but first I just want to say a huge thanks to our supporters for this panel. The Embassy of Ireland to France. Hugh Farrell here, the cultural attaché, is here. He's based in Paris, if anyone wants to talk to him. The Irish Culture Centre, CCI, Creative Ireland, and the Immersion Project, again by Jainta Studios. So the format of the panel today is, you're going to hear two pitches from two artists that have projects here in NewImages Festival, and two organisations from Ireland that are supporting the development of XR immersive work in Ireland. Leon Butler, there at the end, has taken part in Cybernet Residency, and his project Imagine Islands is here at the festival in the distribution market. Leon is an artist based in Galway and an Atlantic Technological University academic, working at the intersection of art and technology. Dave Minogue here beside me is taking part in the Immersion Project. He's one of the fellows, and he's developing a project called Dawn of the Winged Freaks, which is in the development market. Dave is a creative producer, writer and director, specialising in transmedia storytelling, animation and immersive media. He's also the co-founder of Adventureverse Studios. Ruth McCullough here on my left is a creative producer or director and producer specialising in art, technology and sustainability. Ruth is based in Northern Ireland. She is the executive producer of Immersive Arts, a UK nationwide programme supporting artists to make and share extraordinary immersive work. Camille Donagan here in the middle is CEO of Immersive, an advocate for collaboration. Camille is going to talk to us about the strategic partnerships within immersive technology in the sector in Ireland and how she is elevating the Irish ecosystem. First up is Leon. Just going to give you slides.
Hello, does that work? Yeah? It says just click side to side. And there's a button I can't press here, which I want to press. So I've been told I have too many slides, so I'm just going to fire through it. So yeah, I've worked as creative director essentially for the last 10, 15 years, creating lots of different work. So started creating kind of indie animations at home on my PC and kind of rendering beside me in bed and kind of going to sleep and leave it rendering, kind of kept creating that sort of work and creating kind of different sort of pieces that have exploiting new media sort of storytelling. And these are things that kind of use different scans and different kind of 3D modeling, kind of lo-fi, but always interested in the audience experience and what we can kind of work with and tell people in terms of storytelling. This is a work called Emperor 101 that I created with Joe Mangan, Tom Swift, Peter Power and Camille worked on as well. And it was a VR experience where you meet actors in the real world and then you meet them in a virtual space as well. So kind of having this kind of trans theatre sort of storytelling piece. It was interesting meeting the actors and then having to 3D model them and say that's what you look like in a virtual world. And so we had these different places where you'd go and meet them, and it was great and it was immersive. And we took it to Dublin Theatre Festival, showed, and then to South by Southwest, and then it went to Canada. And it was great because the actors could meet you virtually, so they weren't always in the place, so they could travel and kind of the show could go without them. This is the main character, so like loads of fun making it and kind of doing it. And this is us kind of showing it and rehearsing it. It was during COVID, which is very funny, headsets and masks, everyone having them on. And the actors never worked with VR before, so it was a whole new experience for them. They kind of described it as puppeteering, kind of taking a character and puppeting it and working. And it was great, and we did a lot of work with it, and it was very fun, but I think like very few people saw it because of the nature of the show. If you have one participant coming through, we could maybe have 6 people see it a night, maybe 8. We went to South by Southwest, we made a spectator mode so more people could see it, but still not that many people saw it. And this is another piece I made for European Media Arts platform where I kind of hacked into CCTV cameras all around Europe and made a performance out of it so people could come into the gallery and switch through different cameras, and it made an audio track. So I collaborated with Peter Power, a composer, and their movement on screen essentially used machine learning to make a performance from unsecured security cameras. So this is a French laundry. There's lots of laundries in France with CCTV cameras. I'm not sure why culturally, but they're very aesthetic and very nice, and they made for good performance spaces. So that was kind of again, a kind of gallery-based work. So my work kind of moves between gallery, theatre, immersive. And then this was a dance show that we made, which was kind of a reaction to nobody seeing Emperor and very few people. So there was 100 people in the audience for this, and the screen or the headset was all living on this reflective screen. So you could watch the dancer or you could watch the game world, and the dancer could collaborate with herself in the dance world. So she created a duet with herself where she danced. And it was kind of exploring the sense of being stuck in your room and taking Zoom calls, and everything goes on in the spaces that we live and work, and the breaking down of those kind of spaces, and how we live in a space. So it's called dwelling. So it's places that we dwell. And so that was really fun. We're looking at touring that now. We're developing that for touring. It showed in Dublin at Beta. So that's something that we're working on. And get on to this project. Imagined Islands was developed first with Cybernate and then developed in Denmark in Viborg with the Plastic Collective. So it's a digital art sculpture that explores kind of the topologies of islands. And I love the Aran Islands off Ireland, and telling stories there. It made more sense for me to tell a story of a small island rather than trying to tell the story of a continent, which is very hard to understand. On an island, it's very easy to kind of see the change in it. And so it's an interactive projection that kind of evolves and changes over time. And the audience have this agency as you come in and you experience it, you change it by your presence. So it counts the amount of people in the room and speeds up or slows down the rate of change within it. So it becomes quite uncomfortable, quite loud being there. And this is how I did it, essentially, was I scraped all the islands off that play. All the islands in Ireland and Denmark, because they were the people paying for it. So I made a data set, and from that data set I then trained StyleGAN to create these little evolving animations that would move and imagine new islands that don't exist. And so it was quite kind of fun to do, but it was quite dumb at the start. It didn't really know what it was doing, and gradually it got better as we trained it further and further and further. And when we started to see islands, and then we got where we wanted to be, and then it could imagine these different forms. And so from that, it kind of created a LERP, a linear interpolation of it that kind of rolls over and over and over again. And then we mapped that into the kind of space we wanted. So we wanted it in a 3D space. So this is where we showed it in Viborg at the Viborg Animation Festival as a work in progress. So you can see kind of space. It was a lovely water tower that was very echoey and kind of affected the music quite a lot. And then this is kind of what it came out like. So it was mapped in Touch Designer then. So it has this kind of 3D world where it kind of evolves. And this is it in its kind of dormant state when there's no one there. But as you come in and it counts 2, 3, 4, 5 people, it gets very uncomfortable, very loud, starts to glitch, makes people want to leave. One of the funders from the municipality in Denmark was like, I've never heard of someone trying to get people to leave their exhibition before, but I explained that climate change is uncomfortable, and so if people feel uncomfortable, it's probably doing the right thing, the right kind of feeling from it. So yeah, this is in the XR market, so if anyone wants to have a chat about it, about showing it, yeah, I can have a chat with you after this. Thank you.
Thanks, Leon. I just want to mention another project, Harpy by Dee Harvey. Put your hand up there, Dee. Who's in the competition. Please go see her work if you haven't seen it. She's also taken part in the Immersion Fellowship, Immersion Project. Next up is Dave.
Hey, I'm Dave Minogue from Adventureverse Studios. I'm going to sit down. My background is in live action film production, and I made a feature film that was released during COVID and nobody went to see it, and I was like, I don't want to do that again. But like a lot of kids went to see it, and they shouldn't have really done that because it was ostensibly a film about suicide ideation, and but but they seemed to like it, and that kind of made a lot of sense because like over the years I'd amassed a lot of ex-girlfriends, and on the exit interview a lot of the feedback was that I was massively insecure and immature, and I couldn't figure out how to monetize being insecure, but I could monetize being immature. So I started like looking at ways that I could create content for younger kids, or 12-year-olds kind of age. So I came up with this idea, and I was shopping it around. It was a feature film, and I met Jeremy Hughes over there at EFM. And Jeremy's background is in transmedia and kind of story building and fan base, like story building around fans and raising up a fan base, and through transmedia, that's what it's called. And I had no idea what he was talking about. But we got on really well, and we just kept talking. And then sooner or later, we set up Adventureverse Studios, which is now an animation and game studio based in Kilkenny, Ireland. And that was to house the IP, and now we do service work on animation, like for Nickelodeon Music and meme coins. So yeah, and our IP, Dawn of the Winged Freaks, which is the start of a story world, which is kind of hoping to grow internationally. That we can kind of have. It's based like on these two kids who kind of kick off a story action adventure comedy road trip global thing called Dawn of the Winged Freaks, who are Sean and Steve, who are these eco-conscious YouTubers who want to become the Mr. Beast and Mark Rober of eco-content on YouTube. And it's set in West Cork in Ireland, which is like on the very edge of the Ireland, and it's like old rustic world, and it's old pirate country. So when making these videos, they discover a trash laundering conspiracy in their hometown where these guys are taking all the rubbish and just dumping it in the sea, and they're laundering, diesel laundering, or cleaning diesel, and then just dumping on the land. And they decide to take them down, and in order to take them down, they must become mass vigilantes called the Winged Freaks, who are a reimagining of the puka, which are ancient creatures from Irish folklore, which are half rabbit, half horse, not quite good, not quite bad, mischievous. Nobody really wants them around, which is the perfect metaphor for 12-year-old boys. So yeah, we've been developing that story world for a while, and we're trying to bring it out as a animated series, and we just couldn't figure out where to go that we could kind of compete in that space. So we ended up looking into 360 and immersion, and then yeah, that's kind of the bones of it. We've been part of the Creative Ireland Climate Immersion Fellowship for the past year, and that's massively informed a lot of our pipelines and storytelling and the way we work. Cool. Yeah, that's sweet.
Can we play the video there? There's a clip of, yeah.
We all know about the myths and legends of Ireland, but here are some facts.
Today we're spilling the beans on Saoirse Ronan.
Saoirse Ronan, nominated for an Oscar loads of times.
A national treasure.
Reputedly, she's a lovely person on and off the screen.
But she stinks
of garlic, cheese and chits.
She's really smelly.
You can smell her from across the road.
You can't stand near her without feeling a little bit sick. Every Irish person knows this, but we're all too afraid to search to say anything.
Oh, what's that smell? What's that smell? Ah!
What's all this crap?
You're gonna love this.
You should have more lights on if you're on the science inside. What is it?
It's a top secret super bouncy rubber formula.
Top secret?
Yeah, the CIA invented it in the 60s.
Oh, wow. How would you hear about it?
TikTok.
Oh, give me a call.
No, Steve! Hey, I'm first. Oh dear.
Pack it in, let me begin. I came to win, battle me, that's a sin. I won't ever slack
Thanks, Dave. So do talk to all our artists that are taking part in NewImages this year. They're here for the rest of the day, so meet them and talk to them about their projects. That would be great. Next up, we have Ruth McCullough. Who's going to talk.
Hello, and don't press this button. Yeah. No. Okay. This one. Hello, everyone. My name is Ruth McCullough. As Denise said, I'm exec producer on a program called Immersive Arts. So I live in Belfast. I lived in England for 15 years prior to returning three years ago. I used to run an organisation called Abandoned Normal Devices, which was a commissioning agency that worked across sort of emerging technology and science in a roaming digital festival called the AND Festival. So I'm sort of returning to Ireland and really excited to be invited on this panel and talk about this UK-wide programme and the potential of that, you know, across the island of Ireland in the future. So to tell you a bit about the programme, so it's called Immersive Arts. We are a bilingual programme with our Welsh partners. As I said, it's a 3-year programme with £6 million development scheme that's supporting artists across Scotland, Wales, Northern Ireland, England, to engage with immersive technologies. So over the next 2 to 3 years, we'll be supporting over 200 artists to, you know, through inclusive and accessible program of research, training and events. And there's 3.6 million in funding for artists to get their ideas off the ground. So in terms of our definition of immersive, we talk about, it's quite broad. We talk about art that uses technology to actively engage audiences and bridges the sort of space between digital and physical spaces. So to give you a bit of background to where the projects come from, this is all our funders and partners on the programme. So the programme's funded by the AHRC, the Arts and Humanities Research Council in the UK, and then the 4 arts councils across the UK, so Arts Council England, Arts Council Wales, Creative Scotland, and Arts Council Northern Ireland, which is quite an unusual model to have that UK-wide sort of programme available and our funders collaborating together. So it's hugely exciting. And then the partnership is UK-wide, so it's led by the University of Bristol, or the University of West England in Bristol, and Pervasive Media Studio, which is based at Watershed in Bristol, so they're the exec producers of the programme, and then they're producing partners all over the UK. So I work as exec producer across the partnership, sort of developing and designing the programme with them. So we have the Nerve Centre in Derry and Belfast, we have Cryptic in Scotland, Wales Millennium Centre in Cardiff, and then Watershed as well. And then we have additional partners, Unlimited, who are a disability arts organisation, XRDI, who work on diversity initiatives within the XR space, and also Crossover Labs, who some of you might know, they're here representing a number of projects at the market. So they sort of lead our training and development programme for artists. So the programme has funding, which I'll talk a little bit about, and then training support, and then also research as well too. So this is the model for our funding. We launched it last summer, and we are just about to announce 83 projects that we'll be funding next week, hopefully, if all goes to plan. So the idea is that it's artist-led projects, and we had 3 different scales of funding. So 5K was called Explore, and it was for artists with little or no experience in immersive art. And we're not asking them to make anything. It was time and resources to sort of think about how their creative practice could move into this space. If Experiment is the next stage, it's 20K, and that's to support artists to develop a proof of concept or a prototype and get that to a point where they can test it with an audience. And that includes like a development lab with Crossover Labs at the start. So the kickoff to that funding is sort of a catalyst lab to support them sort of think about the project, and with mentors and different other resources. And then the third level is Expand, which is 50K. So that's projects that have proofs of concept or a prototype, and they're ready for the next stage, you know, and that can be in lots of different formats as well. It might be somebody who's ready for exhibition, or it might be developing a very particular part of the project that needs investment over a period of time. So yeah, there'll be over 200 awards over the next, there's 2 more years of the project, so we've 80 announced it next week, and then more to come, so there'll be another funding round opening soon. So if you know anybody in the UK who's interested, do pass on the information. So alongside this, I said, we have a team of producers who are looking to sort of, develop opportunities for the cohort and build community across the UK and connect people to resources. And alongside that, our academic partners are looking at research alongside this is sort of embedded into the programme. And the 3 areas are just outlined here around artists and audience development, tools and technologies, and then infrastructure and ecosystem, and also sustainability as part of that. So how we sort of can advocate for sort of, support and legacy and, change within the sector alongside that. So the website will have resources for artists, and it'll have, publications as well in the coming year if you want to track that. And just to say, additionally, sort of underpinning all this is like centering equity and diversity inclusion in the programme and trying to open up the space for those artists or creators who maybe haven't, had access to the resources or the immersive world to sort of break into that space. And that's why the funding scheme was designed in that way, was to try and unlock some of that potential. And we work with those partners I mentioned around disability and diversity to, help us and challenge us to think about that differently and try and remove barriers at all areas of the programme, from the funding to like how we run our events, how we, develop resources and things like that. So, and we've had a brilliant response to that already. Our first cohort will be over 50% of artists identifying as deaf, disabled, neurodivergent, or having a chronic illness. So. And then just a bit of shameless self-promotion. We have an event that we'll be doing every year as part of this, and it'll move around the UK. So the first one is in Bradford this June. There'll be one in Northern Ireland, if hopefully in the following years. And this is where you can find out more information about the programme as well. Thank you.
Thanks, Ruth. Just bear with me 1 second. Here you go, Camille. Now, Camille.
Thank you so much. So I'm going to stand, taking a inspiration from yourself, Leon. So my name's Camille Donagan. I'm the CEO of Immersive, which is the voice of the Irish immersive sector. We were a grassroots organisation for many years, running meetups and connecting the ecosystem in a very informal way. And we were people in the industry wanting to grow the industry in Ireland. And we formalised in the last year, thanks to support from Creative Ireland. And we're getting funding through Creative Ireland to support the roadmap for digital creative industries 24 to 26. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit more about that, but just to give you an introduction to Immersive, who we are and what we do. So our mission is to steer the evolution of the Irish immersive technology sector to elevate it globally. So we encourage all of the companies that we represent to look globally, and 80% of the companies we represent are already exporting. A quick video. This will describe much better than I can in words what we do and how we do it. So a little bit more about our companies. These are the founding members of Immersive. We now have 40 members. We only launched in September last year. And they're predominantly solution providers. So they're XOR companies that are building solutions for clients. Some are also working in the artistic space, like Leon mentioned the project with the Performance Corporation. But most of these companies are building for clients, and that can be for pre-visualization for the built environment before it's built, for training, soft skills, hard skills training. We have some companies in the entertainment space, and Feroga, or the Youth Service of Ireland, they have 650 VR headsets through a Meta mega grant. So they support 80,000 young people across Ireland with a variety of VR applications, including a mental health application that I produced with Adaptus training called the DALA project, and that helps teenagers with anxiety issues. And then we have some interesting players like Viveverse, which is from HTC. They're actually an Irish company. Arup, which is a large construction company, but they're an industry stakeholder. They have an internal XOR department, and we just signed up Collins Aerospace. So we're seeing more of these, what I call like industry stakeholders, that are signing up as members so we can build this kind of industry ecosystem. And we do believe that if the industry really grows and we support these XOR solution providers, it also raises all the capacity for the immersive arts explorations. And we have a lot of reports, so we've created a working group on the education sector, sponsored by Meta, and then SkillNet. We work closely with the Cultural and Creative Industries SkillNet, who have sponsored 2 industry reports. And this year, as part of the Roadmap for Digital Creative Industries, there will be a data collection methodology across the cultural and creative industries in Ireland. So we have never benchmarked the cultural and creative industries yet in Ireland, and actually it's quite new for Europe. They've only just released some statistics on this. So once we've already done some crunching of the numbers of the economic impact of the cultural and creative industries in Ireland, and already we're seeing it's the most productive sector in Ireland. So it's like slightly ahead of like agri-tech and manufacturing. So we need this data to really shout to government, this industry is super important, and look at the return it's bringing to the country. So that is my intro. Lovely to meet you all.
Thanks, Camille. So that kind of gives you an overview of some of the projects and organisations that are working in Ireland. There's a lot more. I might just ask a few questions, and then if people, might be time to ask some questions from the audience if they want to. I might start with you, Ruth. I'm just gonna wanted to say what just if you're looking at the whole Ireland of Ireland, because you've just moved, you're back now 3 years. What do you think are the greatest strengths of Ireland's immersive ecosystem?
Like I said, just returned. Well, I'm a blowback, as somebody called me, but it's really exciting to be back and sort of see what's happening on the island and the shared island approach to that, And I think in terms of what I can see this in the strengths, it's sort of like the scale of the island is one of its strengths in terms of collaboration and like the innovation that's happening there and the resources that are being built. So and the way that people are collaborating and seeing the opportunity within the immersive sector. So, there's a lot of potential there, I think, to work in a collaborative way as well, and the huge amount of talent that's sort of springboarded from the film sector and the innovation sector over the past 20 years. The skill sets there's studios springing up, and there's a lot of creatives who are really excited to work in this space. So, yeah, excited.
And I suppose Ireland is also so small that everybody knows everybody. You can do 6 degrees of separation. Where are you from? Oh, I know your mother. I know your father. I know your cousin.
Yeah, within like one conversation, you can have a whole project crafted. I think the other things to mention is the Co-Star Lab, which is opening in Belfast. So it's like a UK-wide network of labs. The name is quite difficult. So I've written it down. It's the convergent screen technologies and performance in real time. So there's these expert labs all over the place, and the one in Belfast is, focused on screen and virtual production facilities, for film and animation and gaming, in the immersive sector. So I think that resource is huge, and I know that they want to work in a really collaborative way across the island.
They're leading a massive project on AI development as well, yeah. Thanks. Camille, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I agree with the 1 degree of separation that we have in Ireland. So it's really easy to get something off the ground quite nimbly and quite cost effectively, and to build something for testing, iteration, etc. So like for the startup ecosystem across Europe, Ireland has always been known as a really great test bed to try your prototype, get really deep data feedback metrics on the success, and then you can roll out across Europe. So we can build and innovate very, very quickly. And then we have some really great entities like Screen Ireland, Animation Ireland, Creative Ireland, we already mentioned. And actually we work closely with Údarás na Gaeltachta, that are the support agency for businesses operating in the Irish language. And they've just built an AI large language model for the Irish language, and they're also looking for use cases. So hopefully there's going to be some announcements about that soon. But if you also have projects working with minority languages, please talk to me, because there could be collaborations with Irish language projects.
As creators, Leon and Dave, I'm just wondering, do you have anything to add to that?
About the...
Do you see are the greatest strengths in Ireland's immersive ecosystem?
Like I think generally, like, Ireland is just amazing for storytellers and creatives in generally. We love telling stories, and a lot of it is kind of like textually based, but there's a great resource like when we're making Dwelling, working with dancers and performers and musicians and everything, and it really made the experience super rich in terms of that. So there's that kind of bed of that within it. It's just it's a rich pool. I don't know that we have like an amazing immersive infrastructure to do it. I'm not sure that that's there yet. It's a lot of independent, as I see it. Like I'm kind of working differently. I'm not working in art for commerce, so I'm making art. So it's for me, it's a lot of independent producers working. People kind of, like on that project, we had a lot of people working on it. We had to start having this rule that we had to fire ourselves from jobs because we were so used to doing everything. We're like, I'll do that, and I'll write that, and I'll figure out how to do that. And it's just because we didn't have much funding as the way you do it, and getting funding for it. Like we ended up getting it funded through the theatre and the Arts Council, and it was like kind of slipping it in the door that it was a digital project, So it's difficult in terms of that for the ecosystem, I think. But once you get into it and kind of get into that baseline of all the other things that are there, it's so rich, I think.
And just follow up, what do you think are the main opportunities then for people looking inward for collaborations with Ireland?
Yeah, like I think like digging into that pool of creative people is amazing, and it's sometimes just accessing those people who are solo producers producing kind of on a laptop in a bedroom in a cafe, kind of making stuff and bringing those into bigger projects. As I've brought people in or found people or made kind of connections. People are just so skilled at different things, but they haven't got the opportunity to kind of flex in the area. So it's like when we got the opportunity to do this, and we're working on a new project with Ars Electronica that's going to show in September, and we're bringing in other kind of independent producers. And like I reached out to a collaborative group called NewImages, and they like live in like Kinvara and Claremorris, which is like very, very rural kind of Ireland, and they're creating amazing work. And they came up to Dublin the last time. They were like, we were just so surprised at how good it was. But getting those into the network and getting that is amazing. But it's accessing that is like, you just kind of have to know where things are,
Dave, what do you think are the most exciting opportunities, or why do you think people should look towards international collaborations in Ireland?
Well, like there's a really good co-production infrastructure there for games, TV, animation, films, documentary now as well. But like, I want to say financial engineering, but financial engineering is the answer, where you can kind of rebate like 25% of your R&D, and that we have a really good startup ecosystem as well. This is not the creative answer, but I think like creative and startups work in a similar space. Even theatre works in a similar, like I saw somewhere recently that you should hire theatre kids because they're generous and know how to do everything, and they'll figure it out before you've even finished the question. Like they'll muck in. So we, like, in this space, we have people that are like that, like generalists or kind of problem solvers, and they're passionate and enthused and playful about the problem solving in front of them. So I think that's those two things combined are probably the. Sorry, what's the question?
I think you've answered it. Okay. I was going to ask Camille there. What kind of big, because we're immersive, what unique resources or talents or perspectives do you think we can offer?
Predominantly, I think through some of these really great entities that we have in Ireland. So I mentioned SkillNet, and there's skill nets for pretty much every sector that you can think of. So then there's the overarching umbrella of SkillNet Ireland. So for example, we're partnering with SkillNet Ireland on an Erasmus bid. So something we're looking at quite a lot is the various tracks of European funding, because the more that we can understand and apply for Creative Europe, Horizon funding, Digital Europe, Erasmus, and kind of test the process and hopefully, be successful with some of these EU consortia applications, then we can bring funding directly to our members in that way. We know that most of our companies are micro enterprises, 2, 3, less than 10 employees for sure. They don't have time to be writing these European funding applications. They don't have the resources, and of course there's a very specific way to frame an application right. So if we can, be that conduit for the European funding avenues, that's something that's really interesting, I think. And also to mention MSL, ETB. So we have these like education training boards, ETBs all around the country. And Mayo, Sligo, ETB, which Leon would know from that area, they're driving along with Immersive the apprenticeship for immersive technologies. So that will launch this year. And it's going to be housed in a small but very beautiful town in Sligo called Strand Hill in the Strand campus building. So that's going to be a whole pipeline of talent for the sector, and the idea is that students will go through this apprenticeship for 2 years and then they will embed in industry. So not necessarily immersive companies, but like, I don't know, a newspaper, they have a XR expert, etc. So then I think we'll really see the cross-pollination and cross-cutting use cases, which is going to be very interesting to see how that evolves.
Leon, because you're also an academic in ATU, what do you see are the kind of resources or talents that are coming through the university?
Yeah, there's definitely like Centre for Creative Technology in different places in Screen in Ulster as well are like developing these new things, and a lot of times we're looking at like people at master's level, so they might have come through a variety of different kind of creative arts programs, but they're specifically then interested in technology and kind of getting to understand and to play with that. And it's a hard education space because you want to give people enough chance to learn certain things, but then a sandbox to play. And what we're kind of focusing on is how you can play, but then package that in a way that you can answer a brief answer, like a European open call, answer something that kind of makes sense. And I think sort of my experience of like working in this area and then being an academic is I try to kind of pull back the curtain on what an application looks like, because sometimes people are kind of sneaky. They won't show you their applications that got approved, because they'll think, well, you'll just make the same application next time and I won't get funded. So I've got an open door policy on my applications, and I kind of save other people's applications and show them to the students. So it's just pulling back the curtain a little bit and saying, like, this is how you answer an open call. This is how you get funded. You do a little bit of creative play. You show a kind of a white box demo, and then hopefully then you show enough of what you've got in terms of story, intention, and then technological know-how that the funding board can say, yeah, I think they'll deliver.
Thanks. I just wanted to ask a question to both the artists. What would you like to see happening, I suppose, for yourselves and also in Ireland that would enable more opportunities for development of work or co-productions? Is there any, I suppose, wish lists or things that you'd like to see happening?
How long have you got? I think digital arts as it is falls between a few different stools in Ireland, between like the Film Board, Fisairn, Enterprise Ireland and the Arts Council, and none of them necessarily take responsibility for it. They all have kind of schemes. They're all dipping their toes, but no one's like funding at a really proper level. It's always, your kind of multidisciplinary kind of approach that it's digital arts and when you're making a digital arts native project, it's either, not enough, it's not going to go to film festivals, so Fisairn don't see a route for it, and then the Arts Council think, we made an application, they were like, what's a creative technologist? There's so many people on this project. And we're going like, there are people we need, so there's a little bit of that, a little bit of learning in the organisations, I think, to happen, so we can bring up. But there's great work being made, and the Beta Festival that Aisling Murray runs in Dublin shows that there's great work being made and being shown. And so it's just about, finding that and supporting the digital native work rather than looking for organisations who are already making work and asking them to create digital work, I think.
Yeah, I'd like to see more structured funding opportunities that were that don't have deadlines, like where you can, like the way Local Enterprise or Enterprise Ireland, where there's they're open all year round, like where you can just apply, because I think that creates bottlenecks and you're kind of forcing things into a package when they're not truly ready. And then it's so broad as well, I'd hate to see it fall under Screen Ireland or something like that, or I'd like to see Immersive or something to kind of take ownership on it and kind of some place that knows the sector as opposed to someone that has to go off and learn about the sector and then try to fit it into their mold, because it's a completely new market segment. So I think it needs that kind of a framework around it, someone that isn't coming in with their own best practices of what's not worked in other fucking sectors and bringing it in here, because it's a brand new space and it's very playful, it's very imaginative, and there's no behavioral patterns embedded into how these things are being consumed in any way. So there's no best practice put on that. And I think as long as you can kind of refrain from implementing that into funding, it can kind of still be that way and still be playful and find its own way to kind of be its own thing. That makes sense? I was just rambling.
Yeah. Ruth, what kind of mechanisms would you like to see happening between Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland to support?
Okay, I'd love to be, seeing the programs like I'm doing and any legacy of that could have a shared Ireland approach. That would be, brilliant to see, artists work across, that invisible border all the time. So I think, making sure that there is, government initiatives or trade body initiatives that really, support that work, the way that people want to work and are working, and to give it more of a push. So, that would be my hope as well. I know there's some initiatives out there, but just more and better. But I think that what you talked about, Dave, is having something that's specifically for immersive and responds to that really unique collaborative nature of it, that it is it encompasses so many different industries. So really acknowledging that and, that being a real joy and a thing to celebrate about XR and the ecosystem.
Thanks. Anyone else? Any other questions? No? Okay. That's finished. Thank you very much. Thanks for our panel. Thanks for NewImages for hosting us, making us very welcome at the festival. And I hope everyone enjoys the rest of the festival. And please talk to everybody from Ireland. Thank you.